What if you could see the market not as just a bunch of random noise, but as a carefully planned story? Today, we're diving into the Wyckoff method, a technique that's over a century old, designed to help us read that story by tracking the footsteps of the market's biggest players, the so-called smart money.
We all look at the charts and, let's be honest, these seem chaotic, right? Just a mess of random ups and downs. But what if there's a logic behind all of it? What if the biggest players, the hedge funds, the major institutions, what if they actually leave footprints on the chart? Well, the Wyckoff method says they do, and it gives us a map to follow them.
Okay, so to use this map, we need to get our heads around this idea of the composite operator. Now, this isn't some single person hiding in a basement. It's Wyckoff's brilliant metaphor for the collective force of all that institutional smart money, when they're all basically acting in unison. Their playbook? It's simple. Buy low, sell high. Our job is to learn how to read their plays so we can trade with them and not get played by them. So who came up with all this? The architect was a guy named Richard Wyckoff, a total pioneer of the market back in the early 1900s. He understood that while history doesn't repeat itself perfectly, it definitely rhymes. As he put it, the patterns are similar, but they're never identical. His method is all about learning to recognize the rhyme and the reason behind the market's moves, and that's a skill that's just as powerful today, whether you're trading stocks, forex, or even crypto.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to decode this smart money. Then we'll get into Wyckoff's 3 foundational laws and the market cycle they create. After that, we're going to get super practical and learn how to spot the key phases of accumulation and distribution. And we'll wrap it all up with a 5-step approach to actually trading this stuff. Let's dive in.
First up, let's crack the code on the smart money. If we want to succeed, we have to get inside the head of that composite operator. You can think of their game plan as a simple 2-act play. Act 1 is accumulation. They are quietly buying everything up when prices are low and everyone else is panicking. Act 2 is distribution. After they've pushed the price way up, they sell all those assets to an excited, euphoric public right at the top. But here's the secret. They can't hide these moves. They leave behind massive footprints, not just in the price, but most importantly, in the trading volume. Okay, so what's the engine driving all these market moves? Well, that brings us to Wyckoff's 3 foundational laws. Think of these as the laws of physics for the market. They're the rules that everything else is built on. The first law is one we all know, right? Supply and demand. Super basic. But where Wyckoff was a genius was in how he applied it. He saw the chart as a constant battle between buyers and sellers. And he didn't just look at price, he analyzed it side by side with volume to figure out who was really in control of the fight. Law number 2, cause and effect, is a total game changer. What it means is that a big, powerful trend, that's the effect, it doesn't just pop out of nowhere. It needs a period of preparation, a cause. A long sideways trading range, for example, is the cause. Wyckoff taught that the longer and wider that range is, the more explosive the potential move that comes out of it. You know that old trader saying, the longer the base, the higher in space? That comes directly from this law. The third law is effort versus results, and this one is so powerful. Think of trading volume as the effort being put into the market and the price change as the result. Now, ideally, they should be in harmony. So if the price is rising and the volume is also rising, that's great. That's a healthy bullish trend. But what happens when the price is still trying to creep higher, but the volume, the effort, is drying up? That is a massive red flag. It's like a car running out of gas while trying to go uphill. That divergence is a critical warning sign that the trend is exhausted and might be about to reverse. So when you put these 3 laws together, what do you get? You get the big picture, the 4-phase market cycle. This is the roadmap that the composite operator follows over and over and over again. This cycle is really the market's repeating story, its natural rhythm. It all starts with accumulation, where smart money is quietly buying in a sideways range. This builds the cause for the markup, the strong, sustained uptrend. Of course, at the peak, we hit distribution, where that same smart money unloads all their positions to the public. And that, in turn, leads to the markdown, the downtrend. And then right at the bottom, the whole process starts all over again. Which brings us to the most critical part for any trader, the really juicy stuff. How to actually spot those 2 most important phases, accumulation and distribution. This is where you can literally see the composite operator tipping their hand. So how do we tell them apart? Well, they're basically mirror images of each other.
Accumulation happens after a big price drop, when the mood is totally gloomy and everyone thinks the world is ending. That's when smart money is quietly buying. This sets the stage for the next big move up. Distribution is the polar opposite. It happens after a huge rally, when everyone is euphoric and telling their Uber driver to buy. This is when smart money is selling, preparing for the next move down. They are perfect opposites.
Now, an accumulation range has these specific signposts. It starts with some early buying, then a selling climax where public panic hits its peak and smart money steps in to absorb it all. But the main event, the one you really want to watch for, is called the spring. Imagine a coiled spring being pushed down one last time before it explodes upward. That's what this is. It's a final sharp dip below support designed to shake everyone out. It looks incredibly bearish, but it's a total fake out. Spotting that spring is one of the most classic and powerful Wyckoff entry signals. Distribution is the exact same story, just in reverse. It peaks with a buying climax as total euphoria takes over the market. The key event here is the upthrust. If the spring was a coiled spring, think of the upthrust as a final leap for the high bar that just fails. It's a false breakout above resistance that traps all the late buyers. It's a classic bull trap, and it happens right before the price is ready to fall apart. Okay, so we've got the theory down. Let's get to our final section, trading the Wyckoff way. How do we turn all of this knowledge into an actual, actionable strategy? Wyckoff gave us a pretty clear 5-step trading plan. Number 1, figure out the market's main trend. You want to swim with the current, not against it. 2, find assets that are moving in sync with that trend. 3, narrow your focus to assets that are building a clear cause, meaning a solid accumulation or distribution range. 4, this is where patience is key. You wait for that definitive trigger, like a spring or an upthrust. And finally, 5, you time your entry with the overall market to give yourself the best possible odds. But before you start looking for these patterns, you gotta be aware of the common traps. Don't force a pattern that isn't really there. Always wait for confirmation of a move, like a spring. And please, never ignore the volume. It is literally half the story. And maybe the most important thing to remember is that these are blueprints, not cookie cutters. Your job is to recognize the principles at play, not to find some perfect textbook example on every single chart. So here's the bottom line. The Wyckoff cycle isn't just some dusty old theory from a book. It's happening right now, on every chart, in every market. It gives you a logical framework to make sense of what just looks like chaos. So I'll leave you with a final thought. Based on everything we've just covered, take a look at the market today. Which phase of this cycle do you think we're in right now? The answer to that question could be your next great trade.